DeFi Slate team.
What's up, y'all? Real quick, if you like the DeFi Slate content on Twitter and YouTube and Substack, please give us a like and a subscribe on this video on YouTube. Join our channel, join the community. We'd really appreciate it. We're pumping this stuff out for y'all as much as we can, and we really enjoy the support and the community that we've built. Thank you very much and enjoy. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? We're here today with Mr. Llama of Defy Llama, the superior protocol to 𝗵𝗵𝗶𝗴𝗵. Don't tell 𝗵𝗵𝗶𝗴𝗵 we said that. And we're here today to talk about DeFi valuation. So what you're going to learn about today is how to value certain DeFi protocols, how to access important information in DeFi, and kind of what to look for in certain projects in certain sectors. So definitely excited to kind of break down, what makes a DeFi protocol investable and valuable to the outside eye, especially to people that come from the traditional world as well, not necessarily just those who are into crypto and into yield farming. You'll notice in my background, we've got the NFT Slate logo. Check out the NFT Slate Twitter and Substack. We're getting that off the ground, starting an NFT collection there. It's exciting. NFTs have been nuts recently, and it's time to build illiquid asset collections online. Why not? So here today with Mr. Llama, I'm going to pass it over to Robbie. We're actually together in Costa Rica. He's going to brief us up a bit, and then let's get into showing you guys and teaching you guys about DeFi valuations.
Oh yeah, super hyped to be here talking to Mr. Llama. Thanks, Andy. It's another beautiful day, this time in Costa Rica. So we're getting after it. It's really nice here. There's tons of jungles and beaches and markets and good coffee and good food. So great vibes down here so far. And yeah, it's just a super great time to just be a digital nomad in the metaverse world of financial magic internet money. And yeah, it is a lot of freedom for even your physical world as well. So here today with Mr. Llama, which is super exciting. You can see he is an anonymous character, which we have talked to quite a few anonymous characters on DeFi Slate. So I'm interested in Mr. Llama's backstory, how he got involved, what made him choose to be an anonymous character in this world full of suits, and what led him to Defy Llama to begin with. So I will pass it over to Mr. Llama himself and take it away, sir.
Sure. So I guess let's start with the reason for being anon. For me, it's mainly to avoid being sued. And then I also really like the idea of anonymity as an equalizer among everyone. So, and the idea that doesn't matter your background or anything, everyone is equalized by anonymity. So I just quite like that. But the main reason is for legal reasons.
Gotcha. Yeah, I completely agree there. I mean, equalizing opportunity. I think when everyone's an anonymous character, it's a completely level playing field. And that's a lot of just basic crypto principles, is trying to give everyone equal opportunity, equal access, and build a new financial system that isn't bogged down by people's assumptions or just really discrimination against anyone's personal identifying information. So I think it's really cool that we have anonymous characters out in crypto, and they can make just as much of an impact with their contributions aside from any of their identity.
Yeah, completely. I completely agree.
Equal opportunity, unequal results. So let's talk about that. What got you into DeFy Llama? What is DeFy Llama? How has that process been going for you?
Sure. So, the main reason why DeFy Llama was started was because we didn't like multiple of the practices that DeFi Pulse was doing. We felt it was important for that to be an alternative, and so we built it. And actually, I think you can understand a lot of the reason, a lot of the decisions that we're making by taking the like point of view. Like we're trying to be like different from DeFi pools. So we're aiming for like more transparency and everything open source. For a lot of like these business or like design decisions, they are like deep rooted into like this, I guess, guiding principle. Yeah.
Sweet. So let's pull up Defy Llama and let's have a look at what we're looking at. So right here we can see that the TVL in DeFi, I mean, well, it looks like it's about ready to make some new highs, which would be amazing. You know, push up here. So basically, we've got 118 billion locked in DeFi. You know, Aave is dominating in terms of TVL with 11 billion. And I mean, they would claim that they have more, but you know, there's clearly a list here of the top protocols, you know, that are based on, you know, in the DeFi ecosystem. So let's talk about TVL. So, Mr. Llama, what is TVL? And you know, what does that mean for DeFi protocols as a valuation metric, you know, especially compared to their market cap? You know, let's talk about that as a valuation metric.
Sure. First, on like the question of like what is TVL, that's really like a pretty difficult question. You mentioned Aave, and that's a prime example. Because like essentially for Aave, we get a lot of queries on like, hey, why is there like a difference between these and like the number they show on the website? And it's mostly, in that case, it's mostly because the number on the website includes borrowed money, and we don't. And one of the main reasons for this is that like, if you include borrowed money, that means that like if someone farms Aave through like cycled deposits, then like that money is counted like multiple times. So essentially you can like deposit, borrow your own money, deposit again, borrow again, and so on. Then you're like counting down like multiple times. I think like at the point, Polygon, which is heavily farmed, had I think like 3 billion TVL, but like there were actually like maybe around like 1 point something billion in deposits. It was actually like 1.5 billion that ballooned into like 3 billion from like cycle lending mostly.
Yeah, kind of like the rehypothecation of funds, you know, in Aave, you know, as an example, definitely contributes to that. So, so we're looking at TVL. So we see that Aave's got 11 billion in TVL right now on DeFi Llama. You know, in comparison to Aave's market cap, you know, you can see that there is a ratio available to look at, you know, to assess the valuation of the Aave token and of the protocol. So right now, the market cap is about 4 billion. You know, so that puts us at a market cap to TVL ratio of about 0.33. All right, so 4 billion over 12 is about a third. So let's talk about that. You know, what is the TVL or the market cap to TVL ratio? You know, and how do you view that as a means to value DeFi protocols?
Sure. So a lot of people like to use that, and we've considered building that into our website, but like CoinGecko already does that. So yeah, but TVL has this thing like, it's a bit like this, I guess you could say like there's multiple types of TVL, when you could say that like TVL that incurs like more risk or like more potential losses, like permanent loss, something like that, is more worthy or like more like better than TVL where you just like money on a MasterChef contract. So people like to use the TVL divided by market cap. But there's like this ongoing debate of like, how can you really compare TVL when there's like positions or like protocols when TVL is just like, I guess, riskless. There's like no risk associated with TVL, but like for other protocols, you can have like a permanent loss or something like that.
Yeah, and that's something that I would like you to touch on, because I'm still a bit unsure about. And to me, TVL is really a metric of trust. in each of these protocols. You know, the ones with more total value locked, it's not necessarily like they're valued more or they have more growth potential or anything like that. I see it as, you know, people are moving their money around and it's going to land in one or more places. And the places that have a good portion of this total value locked at any one given time, those are the protocols that more of the ecosystem trusts. And, you know, do you see it as a similar way? And even if there are multiple types of TVL, I almost see it as different risk profiles, right? You can have a lot of different protocols in one risk profile, and that TVL, you know, can be I don't know, maybe 5 to 10 billion, and those are like the high credit, if we had to translate it into like the traditional finance world. Those are like the more trusted institutions, and then as you go down in TVL, you almost get into more of like the smaller banks, the smaller credit unions that don't have as much history or as much, you know, assets on their bank account to kind of provide a backstop for any lending and borrowing issues or just things that come up where you would have to dig into kind of that reserve. So kind of to really put a cap on that question, do you see TVL as a measure of trust, or does it measure something else?
I think like as TVL as a measure of trust works, but I think like most people use it more as a metric for adoption. So it's for example easy to compare, I don't know, like different DEXs such as like PancakeSwap. Like DEXs are like similar, or like lending protocols are also like quite similar. And I think like comparing by TVL to see adoption, like it's pretty valid.
Right. Yeah, and I think on different types of protocols, as you're saying, Mr. Llama, there's different types of metrics that, you know, that can work as better for valuation. So TVL as an adoption metric is certainly present in, you know, most every protocol. However, when we get into DEXs, you know, or other protocols, you can look at volume, right? You can look at the revenue generated to the native token holders. So yeah, I mean, I think for, you know, for lending protocols, it's certainly a good metric to have in terms of TVL, because it does show adoption, although there are funds that are rehypothecated, you know. But when you get into DEXs and sort of other, you know, protocols that are not necessarily TVL determined, right, there are definitely other metrics that are important. I think one of the biggest ones is kind of like these yield aggregators. So we're gonna go over here to yield tab. So, you know, confidence in these protocols is certainly a big TVL booster, because basically these protocols are doing things that you can do by yourself. However, when you use them, they're basically aggregating your liquidity to put you in pools with other people for certain rewards. You know, so what's kind of your take on TVL aggregators? You know, and how does that come into play with, you know, with the valuation model? So is TVL more important for aggregators than it is, you know, other protocols? Or what's your kind of mental model about yield aggregators when it comes to valuing them?
I completely agree with you. Like, for example, for DEXs, there's all the things that you mentioned, or like fees also could be like a good metric for adoption. But yeah, like for aggregators, like the value and the value that's like being managed is pretty important. And I guess that would tie into like what Rob said about being a metric of like trust, since it's like, I would say like maybe the most important thing for aggregators.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So Defy Llama, are you guys working towards being a DAO? What's kind of the structure here of y'all's operation? And have you thought about creating a Defy Llama token?
Yeah, so right now most of the operation is me coding, and like the shaman is another guy who like tackles some of the operations. And some other people also like coding, and then some people are just like sporadically make pull requests and like improve our open source projects. And right now we don't have like, I guess, something that could be like similar to a token, although not really, like, it's quite different. And when we have like these 𝗵𝗶𝗶𝗵 NFTs, which we're giving out to like contributors. It's like people that contribute like code or really anything, doesn't have to be technical. We give them like a 𝗵𝗶 NFT. Yeah.
Gotcha.
I'm thinking of like setting up like some kind of like small governance around them, but that's still like a work in progress.
Yeah, it's interesting the different ways that protocols incentivize their users. What was your reasoning for going with kind of a case by case NFT incentive rather than this holistic governance token model?
Well, I don't think like a token like really makes that much sense for what we're doing. Like, what you would do is, I guess, vote on like TVL, but I think it makes much more sense for like DeFi protocols and for something like us, which we're like basically a front end and data aggregator. And also, I would rather avoid to like deal with all that stuff. Actually, like the NFT, it wasn't conceived as like a governance tool or anything like that. I just built them because it's fun. Like, I started thinking of like these llama Pong NFTs. They were fun, so I started like giving out to people. That's it. And it has like no inherent value. And I'm just like, in terms of governance and all that, we might use it and we might stop using it. There's no, yeah.
Right.
It's I would say it's like completely different to a token. There's no expectation of anything from that.
Exactly. Yeah, and you get into some gray areas, maybe in the legal sections, et cetera, with tokens. And I generally agree. If there's not one needed, then why create? Yeah, I mean, let's kind of shift back towards the DeFi TVL run. So we saw a pretty massive uptick in TVL from December all the way up until May, when we hit 150 billion. Right, we pulled all the way back to about 185 billion, so almost a 50% decrease, which is basically the decrease that a lot of the Bitcoin and ETH and DeFi tokens saw, right? And so now it kind of appears that we're steadying out. We're looking to maybe even climbing back up as ETH and Bitcoin sort of recover their prices a bit. So my first question of a few is, do you view the total DeFi TVL locked as an important metric to follow in terms of the bullishness of, let's say, DeFi Pulse Index as an example, or any other DeFi index that's out there? So could you per se use the increasing TVL as a measurement of, okay, I want to get exposure to DeFi tokens because higher TVL for their protocols means that the governance tokens have more governance power, so that they should be worth more, and then that kind of flywheel comes back. So I kind of laid it out there for you, but so do you think that is a reasonable kind of mental model to follow? Is increasing TVL, let's look for increasing and bullish prices of DeFi tokens?
Yes, you said, like, I think a lot of people follow the mental model. It has like, as you said, like, it's flywheel. It's like this is like positive feedback loop, where a lot of like TVL growth is driven by like price of the underlying. So essentially, like, you increase price of the underlying, TVL increases, and so on. at Defy Llama, we've tried like to level off this kind of price-driven action to see like what actual adoption or like what's the actual growth in terms of tokens. So if you, for example, like click Ethereum down there, to see like the Ethereum chart, you'll be able to.
Yeah, and you click Ethereum there.
And then if you click on ETH on the chart, you will be able to see like the TVL chart denominated in ETH. And like it tells a really different picture from like the one in USD. And I think it's quite interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see that come up here in a second, but I was going to ask a similar question, is if there was any way to measure how much TVL was due to increase in deposits versus how much is due to asset appreciation. And I think that's exactly what the story of that chart denominated in ETH tells, is this is how much ETH is growing. It doesn't matter if ETH is 4,000 or 400, you can see the accumulation or distribution of ETH into DeFi, where price appreciation doesn't really have an impact on that story.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I mean,
obviously it's a little bit more of a strong slope, against the dollar because of just that price appreciation. But yeah, generally speaking, it's still an upward trend here, even when it's paired against ETH, Mr. Llama.
Yeah, it is like a slope, but it's actually like the slope is quite small. Well, the growth since like the beginning is like much slower, or like much smaller. Yeah. Like
right.
if you count like in percentage, the growth is much smaller compared to like USD. USD is like, I don't know, maybe probably like 10x or something like that.
Yes, and it's more like 100x or so against ETH.
Have you seen any reasons or any I guess events that occur that kind of see that we can trace as either a deposit event or a withdrawal event in this ETH chart? Yeah, like what are some of those events?
If you go to like Uniswap and the Uniswap protocol, it's awesome because and you select like the ETH chart, you can see like the launch of 𝗪𝗎, so like the first one is the 𝗪𝗎 launch, and then the second one is the liquidity mining program, and the third one is the 𝗨 launch. You can see like all these events like so clearly, but like if you go to USD, you cannot. It's like it gets too intermingled with price, and you cannot really tell that much. See, like the story is like completely different.
All right, so
but here you can like clearly see how like 𝗪𝗎 launched, and then the migration away from 𝗪𝗎, and then like the other thing, yeah.
So this was the airdrop right here, right, in September.
Yes, yeah. This was the 𝗪𝗎 airdrop.
No, wasn't this when the Uni airdrop was? In August and September?
Around that, but like the Uni airdrop didn't affect the TVL.
And then this is when the liquidity mining launched, when TVL skyrocketed, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And then SushiSwap launched here.
No, SushiSwap launched before the liquidity mining. Yeah, it's this thing.
Oh, right here.
Yeah.
SushiSwap launched right here. And then
exactly. So they were doing like the vampire attack over that thing.
Yes. Right here, when it dropped almost 50%. And then obviously it kept regaining because people realized that Uniswap was going to also have the liquidity mining. And then right here is when the liquidity mining stopped, right?
Exactly, yeah.
And then everybody either migrated to Sushi or went into other farms. And then boom, you got the 𝗨 launch. Yeah, interesting, super interesting.
And I think that, like you said, it tells a very different story. And if you're only watching the dollar chart, and
it just looks
take this back a few years, if you're only watching the dollar chart, it's up only, and you think we're in this massively bullish phase, which because of asset appreciation, that was kind of the case. But if we take it back a few years to, 2016, 2017 era, I think we saw a similar divergence where there was a large influx of people that were now trading on the dollar chart. They were trading ETH versus the dollar, or Ripple versus the dollar, whatever, the coins that were kind of, just getting started in 2016, 2017, Zcash against the dollar, Binance coin against the dollar. All of these charts now had more traders looking at the dollar chart, where, if you were around 2015, 2016, that a lot of these tokens have major support and resistance, if you want to be a technical trader, at their Bitcoin levels. And personally, I've used that as kind of my framework for developing either a bullish or bearish perspective on a lot of these coins. If it's an Ethereum-based DeFi token, I'm looking at the Ethereum pair. If it is one of these Dino coins, Monero, Zcash, Ripple, Litecoin, just, the ones that were around, before Ethereum really started developing dApps, then I'm charting those coins against their Bitcoin pair. And now we see most traders consumed with the US dollar pair. And I think, it distracts a lot of the progress or just the growth of the ecosystem. Because really what we're trying to do at the end of the day is grow our Bitcoin balance, right? Like we're all stacking sats. At least that has been the motto. And if you're trading in a dollar term, you get into the scenario where you might have made a whole bunch of dollars, but if you were just sitting in Bitcoin, you might have made more. And if you don't look at some of these other pairs or ratios, you're going to be lost in some of those scenarios where actually taking the least risky bet, just sitting in Bitcoin, would have paid you the most.
Yeah, totally. I really like the chart, for example, that I just showed you. But here, well, in all of the Defy Llama, we use USD charts just because it's what people want. Yeah, but I totally agree with you.
Yeah, I mean, I want to see 1 trillion DeFi TVL. So, Mr. Llama, what's your prediction there? How many years, and what is it going to take to get to 1 trillion TVL?
I don't know, something that could also drive total TVL up quite a lot would be this trend of composability that we're seeing, we just sum all the TVL from all protocols together. So this has the effect that if there's multiple protocols building on top of each other, or a TVL counted on every protocol, this essentially increases the total TVL. So it's possible that even without more money flowing into the system, we see total TVL grow quite a lot. Mostly by all these new projects launching and building on top of each other.
Got it. So massive adoption and massive composability.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's a great question. I want to stick there. Speaking of in terms of what grows TVL, I think is really important for any, founders, builders, developers, traders that are listening. Adding value to the ecosystem is how we all kind of grow this pie and we're able to profit from it. So, Mr. Llama, like you said, composability is a great just push that will increase TVL. And I've been tossing around this idea of another one that I think is possible, but I want to get your thoughts on the possibility of a central bank digital currency, whether that's an American one, a Chinese one, or otherwise. I've heard interpretations where, this could just drastically decimate DeFi and, now everything's the digital dollar and there's just not DeFi or crypto really even as too prominent of an ecosystem. But I've also heard the counter argument to that where a digital dollar is actually great for DeFi. It means now the traditional banking and Federal Reserve ecosystem is composable with the DeFi ecosystem, and it's much easier to bridge between the two. So I'm curious on your thoughts still relating to composability. Is a digital central bank digital currency a benefit to DeFi and TVL, or is it a detriment?
Yeah, so first of all, I don't think like, I've also heard like these arguments around this like state issued like stable coins and like how they can affect like the current state of the art. But I don't see like, I don't really understand like why would they affect it, since like I guess like the guiding principle of DeFi is to sort of like rebuild some of like the some of like the primitives, like the financial primitives, and like offer them with either like lower cost, more transparent, like more transparency, or yeah. So if there's a digital dollar and stuff like starts building on top, and it's just gonna be like, well, it's probably gonna be like pretty similar to what we're seeing with banks and fund managers. Well, the current banks and fund managers. So I don't see like it affecting it a lot. And I could see it leading to like an increase in adoption on blockchain if it's like free enough, I guess. But it's too early to like know what shape it's really gonna take. Like these things have been like people have been working on these things already like for years, and it's still like not clear what shape they will have. So it's too early, in my opinion.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it could go one of many ways, really. You know, we could see CBDCs inside of Aave. You know, we could see them, you know, use tradable on Uniswap, or we can see them on completely different blockchains, and completely different, you know, distributed ledger technologies, right? That I'm sure the governments are going to want to have the most control over possible. So to deploy on something like Ethereum may not make sense for them. You know, I think with mass adoption, with massive price increase for Bitcoin and Ethereum, and with bringing DeFi to mobile, making it easy on the front end for everybody, I think we could see a trillion TVL in less than, you know, 2 years. You know, I think by the end of 2023, we could see, you know, total just boom, you know, 10x quote unquote of TVL and DeFi through those kind of things, adoption, the narratives, the FOMO, the hype. You know, you got the mobile wallets and the ease of use on the UI front getting way more improved, right? And then just the asset appreciation of Bitcoin, ETH, and other crypto assets that lead to the natural increase of TVL. So, you know, there's your bullish hopium for the day, Mr. Llama. And yeah, I'd like to wrap it up by kind of touching on what's upcoming for Defy Llama and how our community can get involved to contribute and help you guys out.
Sure. So, in terms of like what we're doing, like we're kind of like split among a bunch of like stuff, and working on like always adding more protocols, adding more chains and stuff. Maybe like the coolest new feature we have like coming right up is sort of like Oracle dashboard, where you will see like how much money under management or money controlled by each Oracle network there is. So that's interesting. And in terms of like contribution, really like it's like people can just like jump on our Discord and talk to us and just take like, just ask us like, hey, how can I help? Or just like directly go to one of our projects, well, one of our open source projects and directly contribute. One of the easiest ways is just like pick a project that we have not integrated and integrate it. It's, yeah, doesn't require like previous knowledge of the code base or anything like that. It's actually like sort of like nice self-isolated thing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. So contributors can just go directly to your GitHub, look at some of the projects you've integrated and integrate ones that you have not yet.
Yeah.
And you know, they can just create a pull request. And then how does that pull request get approved? Is it like your central team, yourself, that actually has admin control on kind of instantiating what changes go live?
So it's mostly just me, and that every day I just like go through like all the new pull requests and look at them and like just merge them. And in most cases, like the merging is quite easy. Like seems like they're just like adding like TVL sources are like pretty standard. And there's some cases in which they're trying to, or like they would be adding like TVL in a way that would be like unfair to other protocols. In these cases, I usually just like talk with them, explain them, and if like their arguments make sense, we change like the other protocols. And sometimes when we're not sure if we should count something as TVL or not, we either like poll our community through like Twitter or Discord, or just like ask people, hey, what do you think we should do? Or like, yeah, aggregate a response or like make a decision based on that.
Yeah,
and
that way,
yeah.
Y'all are able to have community governance without a token by polling your Discord and your Twitter.
Yeah, exactly. I really don't think like a token, like for what we're doing right now, it's a website, really. I don't think like a token is needed, and we have like plenty of like good discussions. Although I really want to like decentralize out of like a decision making, since right now it's centered around me and like some of the team, and I want it to be like much more community driven. And I'm working on that. Like we got like this group called like Llama Punks. We're just like discussing some ideas on that.
Yeah, that's the
Nice.
thing. It's like, how do you incentivize people to, want to care about your project so much that they want to, push it forward and try to see, where the leadership can go and incentivize them. So, yeah, man, I mean, that's awesome, guys. Check out DeFiLlama.com. Check out their Discord. We'll drop the links in the description of this video. Thanks so much for coming on, Mr. Llama. It was a pleasure, man. Thank you for building DeFi Llama. It's been a great tool for us. I've used it quite a bit. And yeah, keep pushing forward and making DeFi for everybody.